Welcome back to Donkey Kong Country. We're continuing the fruit factory. We can see the texture on the path a little bit, and that's not so good.
Oh yeah, they render like
Oh.
individual leaves for the foreground and background, but then the path itself is just a mash of painted leaves. It's like
Also, I never got a... Oh, go ahead, Liz.
like looking at that and taking the texture quality at face value, it looks like if like your landscaper were to paint a road leaf textured in between two actual groups of leaves. Which someone's probably done for like postmodern appeal or whatever.
I never got a chance to say this last part, but those watermelons are useless fruit from the last level. Their seeds are bigger than the actual edible fruit part.
Huh. Yeah, probably.
There were 4 seeds and it took up like 75% of the fruit.
I mean, there's still fruit to be had in it.
Yeah, but...
Yeah,
no.
but is it worth industrializing that kind of fruit, though?
No.
Man, Winnie the Pooh must
Nope.
be having an orgasm looking at this level.
This now we're fighting Malboros from Final Fantasy. It's
I mean, those guys have been around the last couple of stages, so...
Don-
Oh, yeah.
Things wish they could be zingers.
Donkey Kong
yeah, there
RPG
was,
when?
Oh, God.
I'm down!
There's enough Donkey Kong side characters for them to be party members in an RPG.
Yeah, you have Donkey's the main one, Diddy, Dixie, Cranky, Funky.
Like, you could
Candy.
even go for the DK64 people and have, like, Chunky Kong be, like, your knight tank kind of character.
Yeah, chunky, lanky, tiny.
What class would Lanky Kong even be, though?
Dragoon.
Now there was a hive level in the original Donkey Kong, like in Donkey
2.
Kong 2, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
There were multiple hive levels.
Yeah, it was one of the more interesting themes from that game, I remember.
But for now, bonus.
Wait, how did they get in here and how will they get out?
The hole
It's
in
a
the
video
ground?
game.
Yeah, but that's the whole of losing.
Well, yeah, but only if you don't grab all the bananas. After you grab all the bananas, you can jump down the hole and get out of here.
Why are they only allowed 15 seconds in this nonsensical bonus land?
Video game.
Yeah, but... Fine, be that way.
See, Dixie agrees with me.
Dixie Kong also barely has a functioning brain.
Yeah, all the Kongs are pretty stupid.
Oh, is this like a Kiwi kind of thing?
Looks like it, yeah.
Oh, but it's like grassy, ew.
I forgot you could actually, bonk. There you go.
Oh, I wouldn't have thought to do that.
I
Yeah,
would
so-
not have thought to do that.
It took me a few tries.
Also, I don't know what to make of these bee enemies.
Yeah, why couldn't they... I applaud them for trying to do something different enemy-wise all the time, but if you're just going to make a generic bee enemy anyway, you already could just use the zingers.
Exactly. You could have just used the zingers.
You know, I feel like they kind of wanted to try to make like their own identity with the new Donkey Kong games, which again is worth applauding. But I feel like especially after everybody complained about the Tiki guys in Returns not being really all that great, and the people not really super liking the villains in this game either, I think that they're probably, if they do another Donkey Kong game, are almost certainly going to go back to the Kremlings and those guys.
And I mean, the outburst that happened when K. Rool got revealed for Smash.
Oh yeah,
Like-
especially after that. There's,
Well, I mean,
Is that King K. Rool from the Super Smash Brothers series?
which studio made the new Donkey Kong games again?
Retro Studios.
Yeah,
the
Retro's.
Prime people, Metroid Prime people.
Yeah. Retro's MO, as far as handling classic franchises, has always been to do their own thing. That's kind of
Yep.
why. That's kind of why Prime not just switched into a first-person perspective, but also had like very much its own enemy types.
I understand.
Not really. Prime actually reused a lot of Metroid enemies.
Yeah,
Which is
but-
weird because Metroid's enemies, aside from the Metroids themselves, aren't really super iconic IMO. Like, some of the bosses, sure, but, like,
I mean,
the
like,
generic
as-
guys are just kind of aliens.
I mean,
to me.
as compared to, say, Other M, which leans super hard onto familiar Super Metroid imagery. I mean, yeah, they had the Space Pirates, but they also had their own designs for the Space Pirates. So...
To be fair, they also did make a lot of new enemies as well.
yeah.
Like the big ice guys, I'm pretty sure are new. Almost all of the bosses, aside from Ridley, are brand new.
Even
They did
Ridley
tr-
is, like, remade
Ridley's
into
a
meta,
robot
meta,
now,
meta
yeah.
Ridley, yeah.
Yeah. You see, it's weird though because they pulled more from Metroid than they did for Donkey Kong, and I feel like people care more about the Donkey Kong bad guys than
Do
they
they?
do about most. Well, you see, I would have thought the same thing too, but apparently there's a lot of love for K. Rool in those Kremlings. So, you know, like I mean, I don't really get it, but these have never been my games to begin with, so I'm not gonna judge all that much out loud.
I mean,
Out loud.
I mean,
Yeah.
I just, you know, as one of the Donkey Kong guys of our friend group, I've always had a soft spot for the Kremlings. So,
I was just like, I'm looking at this right now, and you all are talking about, like, how the enemies aren't good, and I'm like, they look fine to me. I'm liking them.
I really like the enemy design in this game.
They're fine. It's just they don't.
They don't stick out a ton compared to other platformer enemies. Like, oh look, it's a generic shark enemy.
Okay, I'll give you that one. I'll give you that one.
Well, no, you see, the sharks are one of the exceptions for me because of their stupid ass face, where they're just like, they're. But for most of them, it's just they do just kind of feel like this is an animal, or whatnot.
Well, yeah, I'll give you that. The penguins kind of remind me of penguins from Crash Twinsanity. So that just kind of means they're just penguins, doesn't it?
I don't know how much flack I'll get for this because I've never really played these games either. But I never really found most of the enemies in Crash to be particularly noteworthy either.
No,
Like, I feel
Outside
like-
of the bosses, they're just generic animals or
Yeah.
robots.
Yeah. Spyro also kind of had that problem as well, where none of the enemies really stuck out too much to me.
Spyro mostly had the problem of the model quality was really basic. So the designs had to be really basic.
They also swapped up enemies like every single
Yeah,
game,
but,
so
like-
none of them had a chance to stick.
Like in Crash Bandicoot's
Right.
case, the only iconic enemies are the bosses and the scientist guys who always had who had like different costumes and stuff. So, 'cause, I don't think anybody really shed a tear over losing classic PlayStation 1 Crab or classic PlayStation 1 Skunk.
I definitely didn't lose any sleep over Robo Turtle.
The only memorable thing the skunk ever did was in Twinsanity, where you meet the skunk who's going back and forth in front of a pit, in front of a cluster of nitro grates, and then he
think
suddenly
the
says
thi-
he doesn't want to anymore.
I think the thing about the Donkey Kong Country enemies is that they were rendered in CG first and made into sprites. As a result, especially for the time, they were allowed to be much more expressive than any sprite-based enemy would normally be.
Yeah, the Kremlings were very, very expressive.
Fair enough.
So I think that's what made them stand out as far as enemy design goes.
Now that I think about it, there are a lot of things that I can kind of remember about them, like the big guys. If you jump on them as Diddy and them going like, with that kind of sound and whatnot, and the faces they would make when you jump on them, and stuff like that, certainly do make an impression.
And the ones that always look so freaking hype to be in a minecart.
I don't really remember those ones, but I have tried to block the minecarts out of my brain. So
If you ever look at another sprite for the Kremlings and the minecarts, they look so excited.
I think K. Rool also partly because of the credits fake out from the first game, but also because he just wears a different costume for no reason. every single time. It's like the manuals try to call him this different person. It's just like, no, that's
Please,
Green
please,
K.
man,
wearing a
please.
hat.
Yeah. Please pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Okay, I like the shark.
Yeah, the shark is like my favorite enemy in the game, especially when he jumps out of the water because he's like jump, 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 jump. But then again, sharks are doofy ass motherfuckers, even in the real world. Anyway.
I don't know what you're talking about, dudes. Sharks are scary.
Well, great white sharks are scary. If you look like a whale shark or something like that,
Oh,
they
yeah.
are very, very derpy looking.
I'll give you that one.
Yeah. Also, sharks are sad creatures because if anybody tries to give them a hug, then their entire body cuts open and they die. So, yeah.
What?
They also can't swim backwards.
And they're also nearsighted.
Sharks are a lot of species of sharks are covered with like edged rough skin, so that like if you rub your hand across it the wrong way, it'll like cut it. So if you ever try to hug a shark, you'll probably bleed out and die. Basically.
Right, yeah.
I'd still hug a shark.
That's not your smartest idea, Nathan.
I mean, I do live in Florida, so I don't have a lot of bright ones.
Florida man.
Yeah, if something tries to clamp onto the shark, it gets injured and has to let go.
I'd still hug a shark.
Florida
This is why we need to
man.
move you out of Florida.
Yeah, the second you get out of Florida, you gain like 30 IQ points.
You're not wrong.
Florida is a mistake. I'm not going to say was, because it still is.
Cue the gif of Bugs Bunny cutting off Florida from the United States.
Can we do that, actually, though? Like, for real? Can we, like, make Puerto Rico a state and then make Florida its own
Well, we
thing?
should make Puerto Rico a state anyway.
I mean, yes, true,
We-
but I like
we
having
sh-
it being an even 50 because that sounds cool.
We
and whatnot, and the
should-
flag looks pretty tight right now.
We should
So-
we should encourage Puerto Rico to become a state, but it's not just like the U.S. that resists it. There's someone I talked to at work who's lived there has talked to me about like how frustrated they are with like a lot of people in Puerto Rico who don't want to lose like their national identity by becoming a state or something. So
Even though they would gain a whole lot more just by being a state.
yeah,
You see, I'm fickle, and I like the idea of having 50 states because that's such a nice number. So if we can't get rid of Florida, why don't we have the Dakotas make up and then become one big Dakota, which is like my favorite Fairy Odd Parents joke.
why just the
Like-
Dakotas? Why not the Carolinas?
Because there's no freaking difference between the two.
There's no
waste-
difference between the two Dakotas.
They're just wastelands of nothing.
why
There's
not
at least-
like Virginia and West Virginia?
Well, you see, there's at least interesting history behind the Virginias because West Virginia, it was all one Virginia at one point, but then West Virginia made itself its own state when they were like,
Because
"Whoa,
Civil War.
seceding! Whoa, that's a little bit much, guys, don't you think, guys? No, okay, we're gonna go over here now, and yeah, we're good." So there's at least interesting stuff there. But like the Dakotas, like if you've seen one Dakota, you've seen all Dakotas. So you know,
There's
just
nothing in the Dakotas.
the
There's
North-
nothing of value in the Dakotas.
North and South Dakota would never make, get over their differences unless Fairy Odd Parents.
Okay.
Well, we can have the Dakotas make up, and we can have the Carolinas make up, so we can add DC as a state. It's just kind of hypocritical to have it to be the head of the federal government, but also not have any representation of itself.
You see, I always kind of thought that was the point, though.
Yeah.
Like, so that the head of the government wasn't favored. I mean, it makes a lot more sense when you think about the U.S. as it was originally envisioned, as opposed to what it kind of is now, where the United States originally was more of
I think
a group of
I think-
13 territories working together.
Yeah, I think
and they
the
were much
idea-
more separate at first.
I think the idea is
Yeah,
supposed
the-
to be that the federal government is neutral when it comes to state interests.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but we
in
don't live in-
practice,
yeah.
it never happens. But
Yeah, we live in a much different world now, so it's just in practice it's one of those things that it didn't work out this way, so we should change it. But you know, we're not gonna get that to happen. So you know,
oh boy, this okay. I thought this was just going to be a nondescript bouncy level, Then I realized that there are things in the gelatin that bounce out when you bounce on them. Some of them are hazards. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh, they have green Jello. Green Jello's the best kind of Jello. Don't ask.
How
Oh,
do they make it green?
okay. You know what? Orange is also a top tier Jello.
I haven't had Jello in years. I should probably do
Me
that.
neither. I mean, I don't know if having Jello is really good for you. Like, it might. It's probably 80% bad chemicals, but it tastes so goddamn good.
It's mostly just sugar.
To be fair, like a lot of things are like not 100% good for you anyway. Our bodies,
Nothing's good for you anymore. Everything's gonna kill you.
our bodies are meant to get rid of a certain amount of bad stuff. So as long as you don't overdo it, you're fine. But
You see, my most vivid Jello memory is when I was in elementary school, we were doing, I think it was projects on like different like U.S. landmarks, and one of the kids in my class, I believe it was the reflecting pool in Washington D.C. And so, in order to make the water look blue, they used blue Jello, which looked really cool the first day, but they had them all displayed. So they left the thing out, and then the next day there was mold all over it. So, yeah, don't make Jello part of your school project, kids.
yeah,
Just gonna throw that one out there.
yep.
Yeah.
I mean, if you stuck it in a refrigerator all night, it would probably work.
Yeah, but the cafeteria people aren't gonna let you keep the project in there. I think it wasn't thought all the way through, because there was like this whole, I think it was for like a parent teacher thing
Yeah.
where they were supposed to like have them out so all the different parents could see or whatnot.
I never went to a school that did that kind of thing, so I feel like I kind of missed out.
It's fun, but then again, as a kid, it always terrified me when my parents were supposed to talk to my teachers, because they're like, "Oh, how's Ted doing in school?" And then I just nervously sweat. Because
The thing is, like, I would go with I would like to have gone to a school that had more of that kind of stuff going on, because it feels like a lot of schools like only really have any real avenues to express yourself if you're an athlete. And I'm not an athlete.
that's true. I consider myself pretty lucky, because the public schools I went to did have a good amount of extracurriculars that weren't just like the different sports. Although, since I never did the sports stuff and my brothers do a lot of sports, I was really surprised to hear that a lot of that pretty much every sport in the city makes you like pay for your own uniforms and to sign up even for like the high school and the other public things. And I'm like, this is run by the school. Why should you also have to pay money?
Well, if it's the
So-
public school, they probably don't want to. They probably don't want to use their already limited budget on it.
Yeah, I know, but it's just one of those things where it's just like, wow, we really do not give schools enough money.
Yeah,